going to dig into myself a little bit and then I'm going to unpack you. We're going to do it.
I always love just unpacking myself on a podcast.
It's the best way to do it.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so let's make this property specific now. So I have mentioned this a little bit, but I'm going to go into this a bit further. In my 20s, one of the things that was very apparent for me was that I was quite scared of money. I was terrified of money, right? And as a byproduct of things that have happened in my youth from my parents, that had caused me to be very debt adverse and really scarce with money, very, very scarce. So every time I earned money, I would just quickly scrounge it away looking for safety. Now, what actually occurred out of that is in my 20s, yes, I did buy a house to live in, but all I was consumed of was paying down the debt.
Yep.
So my psychology was pay down the debt. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever looked at a chart aligning my 20s with the property market, but if I could go back in time and instead of having the mindset and thinking and psychology of I've got to absolutely pay down to the debt to, do you know what? I've got to buy a property every couple of years. Where would I be today?
Slightly different position than you actually are.
Completely. So a poor set of psychology and thinking led me to the point where I was terrified of money in general, but even more terrified of debt. So every time I earned money, rather than thinking about growth, how to expand, how to invest, I was thinking about how to be safe in owning my own home. And I share that because I don't want people to listen to this show and think, well, Charlie, you've already done the thing, right? I was that person who had to make that change. And I think everyone else out there is likely to have to make some changes to their own psychology when it comes to themselves thinking in this way. Now, Grant, you've got a really interesting one. And I find you fascinating here because you are someone that's been quite successful in the software world, right? And at a point in time, I know because I spoke to you about this, the way your psychology was set up is the way you were going to be successful was SaaS business. Yep. Property wasn't even on your horizon, and yet here you are many years later running a property podcast with your good pal Charlie. What occurred for you there?
Yeah, so to even back up further, so obviously business and then software, and I'm going to piece this up into two layers. The first one was my money psychology. I was very fortunate that my old man had the same job for 40 years. It changed from was it telecom to Telstra to IBM, but essentially it was the exact same job for the same people. And so for myself, that's what I saw. I saw this security layer. And so everything that I did throughout the business world was trying to create the security. It was always backup plans and certainty as opposed to...
Do you think most people are set up with a scarce money mindset and seeking security in the way they operate now?
Hands down, yeah. And you can see it. How many people come to us and talk about what's the cheapest place that we can invest in just in case it doesn't work? It's like this. It's almost like the
this is the stuff. This is what kills me, right? Oh, what's the cheapest place I can invest in?
Just in case.
What about what's the right asset for the environment of today?
Totally.
Where is the best opportunity for the lowest risk in today's environment?
Yeah, and then they outsource their decision making to other people on the internet. It's so what's the best buyer's agent? I don't want to do the research. I want everyone else to do it. Just you guys figure it out. And so that was and it was really interesting, that showing up in sort of what I was doing in business, but it also showed up in a lot of things that I was doing with investing in shares and crypto and stuff like that before I got into property. But then when I got into property investing, I was triggered into it at a certain time in my life where I was constantly investing in different businesses to create more certainty because I thought that more eggs in more baskets, Charlie, where if some baskets fell and eggs cracked, I was going to be okay.
Can we pause right there for a second? I just want to unpack that a little bit.
Let's do it.
All right. So your psychology at this point is business is the way I'm going to be successful.
Yep.
And the way I'm going to have risk diversification in my life is investing in more businesses.
More businesses.
So I'm not just going to be in one. I'm going to be in, knowing you, 5.
I think it was 5 or 6.
There we go. I like it. It's very Grant Merrill.
And so
but can you see in the wiring point of view, right, that's what your thinking led you to?
Completely. And so I hated the idea of debt. I had no credit cards, no debt, nothing. Every time my business would generate some kind of profit, I would go throw it at another business. And I would just throw it at different startups and everything like that. And it got to a point where I still remember the apartment we were living in. I asked my now wife, hey, I want to invest in another business. And she's like, sure. But the question is, at what point are you going to invest in us? Like, at what point does the family become important?
I wish I had a knife sound effect. I could play right now. Like, stab, 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 twist.
Every time she listens to me talking about this, she's like, yeah, I did say that. Like, yeah.
Shout out to Hazel. Respect points if you hear the podcast.
Don't add fuel to that fire. And it was actually the one thing that triggered me into something else of going, okay, I've done quite a bit of work on myself, but there's still more sitting under here that I need to work through as to why I'm just spreading myself so thin. Why am I working so many hours? Why am I trying to invest in so many different businesses that aren't turning into the result that I need to ultimately support my family into the future? And that's where you and I got into some very deep conversations, and I assessed a whole heap of things to change who I was and my psychology around money and how I was playing the game, which ultimately led me into the property investing sort of process and side of things and selling out from quite a lot of businesses.
It's fascinating, the epiphany that has to occur. And I know both of us have had it, which is why I will speak for you in this comment here.
Appreciate it.
Eventually, and maybe it is through you need to tactic chase, you need to look for the hot spots, or you need to get involved in something that doesn't go well. But there seems to be, for everyone I've spoken to that's done really well, there's the eventual epiphany that, hang on a second, I'm the problem.
Yep.
It's not the location. It's not the business. It's not the thing that sits there that we want to say that is exterior to us. It's actually internally. It's the thinking we brought to it. Like, it was you who made that decision to invest in that business. It was me who made that decision to pay down that debt. Was it the house that was good or bad, or the business that was good or bad? It was the thinking that happened before that that led to that outcome.
All right, fellow property investor, if you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.